I bought the best bike I could find for 450 bucks.
Nice.
Now I've done this because I want to see what you can get for your money around this price point and see how good bikes are at the entry level in 2024. So this is the bike I've bought. It's a Boardman SLR 8.6 and I paid £450 for this, but it was reduced down from £650. Bargain. I've got this bike so that I can use it as an example to show you what you can get for this sort of money and also go through the things that you should look for and explain what's good about it and what's less good about it. But before I do that, I think I should explain why I chose this and not other things that are available at the moment. I shopped around and other things I looked at were specialised entry-level bike, but I could only find the same spec for another 100 quid or so. Entry-level Treks as well, and Decathlon Tri-Bands, which have long been really great bikes in terms of the spec that you can get for the price. But the RC120 is the comparable bike in the price range for 500 to sort of 450, but it has lower spec components in that it has micro shift gears on it rather than the Shimano Claris I've got here. Now, the crucial thing here was that this bike was reduced, and therefore that made it the best bike I could get for the price. And you might be thinking, well, you know, I probably won't be able to find a reduced bike, or that's unfair to then pick it. But I would argue it's not, because we've done shows on the Tech Show recently about how the bike industry is in a bit of turmoil at the moment, and there are a lot of brands that are sat on lots of unsold stock. And so right now is a great time to be a consumer because you can take advantage of that. And a lot of items, all sorts of things, not just bikes, are being reduced. And I think this is a sign of the times. At this sort of price point, you're looking at an aluminium frame and a carbon fork, which is what we have here. The bars and stem and saddle, known as the finishing kit, they're all sort of standard like OEM bits, nothing fancy, nothing special, but they get the job done and are perfectly fine. You've also got rim brakes on here, and that again helps keep the price down on an entry-level bike. Hydraulic disc brakes have much greater stopping power and much greater feel and modulation, but they're far more expensive. And so on lower end bikes, you'll typically find rim brakes. A disadvantage of rim brakes as well is they don't allow you to fit usually bigger tyres, and the trend is towards fitting bigger tyres for more comfort and rolling resistance. But quite a nice little spec detail on these rim brakes these are deep drop rim brakes. So they actually have a bit more clearance in them than some rim brakes, and so you can fit bigger tyres. They actually rate these to 28mm tyres. The bike comes with 25, but I mean, that's quite conservative. Looking at the clearance in there, I think you could get bigger than 28 in there. The group set is mainly Shimano Claris, which is Shimano's entry-level, lowest sort of tier road bike group set. Above that, you have Sora and then Tiagra, then 105, group set of the people. But what it does benefit from is trickle-down tech. So back in 2010, I had a bike with 10-speed Shimano 105 on it. And those shifters are almost the same as these shifters now. So you have the fully integrated cables that go down routed by the handlebar. On lower spec levers in the past, you used to have the cables sticking out of the side, but this is something that originally came from Dura-Ace before that. But it's really great to see, and the shape of the levers is really good, and yeah, the gears work great. The thing you have here is 8 speeds on the back. Now, sometimes you might be able to find a bike with Sora on, which is the group set above this, and that has 9 speeds. But more often than not, you're going to be looking at something around this level. In terms of gearing, we've got a 50-34 compact chain set and an 11-32 cassette, which is a big range of gears and great on a bike like this. It's a much bigger range than you got on bikes, say, 10 years ago. And the advantage of it means that it's good for descents, but also whenever you start going uphill like I am now, you can just keep spinning that bit longer and it just makes it easier. We haven't got the full Claris group set though. You got the shifters and the derailleurs, and this is a common thing that bike brands do. We've got an FSA chain set in place of the Shimano one. This is a cost-saving measure, but I wouldn't worry about it too much because, well, it does the job, it gets it done, it's okay, but it's just good to know when you're buying a bike what you're getting for your money. When you move up to the £600, euros or dollars sort of price point, you do see some bikes with 9-speed Zorro gears on, the group set tier above. And at 1,000, you tend to start seeing hydro disc brakes and even some entry-level carbon. Aluminium frames and entry-level wheels like this are noticeably less stiff compared to the super high-end bikes that I get to ride. But unless you're Mark Cavendish trying to win a sprint on the Champs-Élysées in the Tour de France, it's not hugely important. I have to be honest with you. Like, you can still go out and enjoy amazing epic rides in cool, beautiful places on stunning roads as much on this bike as you can on a super expensive bike. And that's something that I really want to stress. So overall, you know, bikes like this are great, but what's not so good? Well, the weight is noticeable and you're going to feel that when you ride uphill, but a lot of that weight's in the wheels, which you could potentially upgrade. But let's check out the free hub. Free hub sound check time. Oh, hang on. No, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. There we go. But the wheels do have a lot of spokes, which suggests to me sturdy. Something else I've noticed they've done to keep the price down is the brake blocks are just solid blocks rather than the separate shoes that come out. So if you know, it were me, what I would do is once these have worn down, I'd swap them out and replace them. They are a consumable part. I'd swap them out and replace them for some proper dedicated brake shoes that go in there properly, just to help improve the brakes a little bit. And the other thing that stands out to me is the tyres. So these Vittoria Zafiros, they're like a good quality tyre, but they're kind of a bit more of a sort of winter tyre. They're very robust, and independent rolling resistance data has been published on pretty much every tyre on the market. These are about 5 watts per tyre slower than something like a performance tyre like a Pirelli P0 28mm. And so if you upgraded those and the standard butyl tubes, that again can save you around 5 watts per tyre. You've got a huge performance upgrade, and that's why, you know, I always bang on about this, Alex does too, that the first upgrade you should do to any bike that gives you the most bang for your buck, tyres and tubes. And upgrading your tyres would also allow you to switch to something wider, so 28s, or, you know, I think you could get 30s in here, no problem. There's loads of clearance, and that's going to give you more comfort and grip as well. This bike is very similar in terms of spec to my first ever road bike, and it's great. I'm really enjoying riding it. And that's really important because for many people, a bike like this will be their entry point into cycling. And this is something I'm really passionate about because, you know, I want more people to discover the sport that I love. And for that to happen, there has to be good bikes that people can afford. And the key thing to remember is it doesn't matter what bike you're on, the view doesn't change. But I want to see how much better I can make this bike with some, well, simple and just cost-effective modifications. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the tyres and tubes, as previously mentioned. I'm going to tweak and improve the brakes. I'm going to wax the chain, and I'm also going to pop on some clip-on tri-bars on here, which I've actually managed to already buy for a very good price used on an online marketplace. And I think by doing these modifications, this bike will, well, I want to see how well it can compete against a top-of-the-range 10 grand superbike that would be the equivalent spec as what's ridden in the Tour de France. How much it'll close the gap doing those modifications, well, I want to find out. And if you want to see that too, well, that's what I'm going to do next. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that one. We'll be doing it soon. Right, I'm going to go now. Hope you found this useful. Love you, bye.